We start with the Millennium Development Authority, MIDA, which has denied claims there has been a presidential directive to halt all activities in relation to the partial privatization of the Electricity Company of Ghana until further notice. Director of Communications and Outreach at MIDA, Pamela Jamson Tete, told MyJoyOnline.com the claims attributed to the Secretary of the ECG Senior Staff Association, Patrick Binyami, are untrue. In a press statement, MIDA clarified that no such directive was discussed at the last meeting, which was held at the Flagstaff House. The statement continues and it says the management of the Millennium Development Authority has noted with concern comments attributed to the Secretary of ECG, Patrick Binyami, and which it says is untrue. Indeed, under the auspices of the Chief of Staff, MIDA is participating in the ongoing discussions with the Public Utility Workers Union pool of ECG and ECG management in respect of their concerns regarding the ECG private sector participation. As these discussions are ongoing, MIDA is not in a position to disclose details at this time. And MIDA, however, wishes to inform the public that no directive to halt the activities in respect of the ECG private sector participation has been given, and no such directive was discussed at the last meeting held at the Flagstaff House. Meanwhile, the Chief of Staff, who is in the Upper West region, has also refuted the claims. He spoke to my colleague Rafiq Salam, who joins us via phone. Good evening to you, Rafiq. The Chief of Staff has also been touring the Upper West region. But first, let's look at what the status of the privatization of ECG is, as the Chief of Staff said.
The Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, made it categorically that he didn't issue any statement from the Upper West region. The past 3 days, he has been in the Upper West region, and no state statement has come from him. And so he categorically denied that there was no issue of any letter or any signature that he signed to the privatization of ECG to MIDA. But in any case, he even said that there's nothing about privatization, and so he went to make that statement that he hasn't signed any statement.
Hello, Rafiq. You're still on air.
Yeah, and so that was the statement that he issued. And also after that, he made this issue statement at Laura, where he's gone on a campaign tour, meeting traditional rulers and opinion leaders, and some party activists about the NDC only need to come together, only need to know more about the party's manifesto so that the NDC will retain in power come December elections. And so the Chief of Staff since Tuesday has been here and it's been going around. And I can tell you that they just returned from Laura after moving from Nadoli to Nandam and also back to Laura and then to us. And so it's a heavy schedule for the Chief of Staff, but he still has time to react to this important issue about the concession of ECG.
Thanks to Rafiq Salam for the update. Rafiq Salam is our correspondent from the Upper West region. Well, yesterday, the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, assured the people of the Wichau and Dorimo traditional areas that if President Mahama is retained, there will be more development in that area. Now, the two paramountcies are in the West constituency, and according to the Ghana Statistical Service, 9 out of 10 people who live in this area are considered poor. Mr. Debra, however, cited projects by the NDC government ranging from small town water system, provision of health and education facilities, and electricity to some communities as only a tip of the iceberg, adding that there will be more if given a second term. This is another report by Rafiq Salam.
Chief of Staff Julius Debra first paid a courtesy call on the Wichau Traditional Council, armed with a message of the campaign manifesto of the National Democratic Congress that was launched last Saturday. Before he spoke of the intention of the government and its bid to revamp the agriculture sector of the country by the introduction of agri-mechanization centers, Meteona Bandana, on behalf of the Wichauna, poured laudations and encomiums on the government for the numerous development projects given to the traditional area. He, however, mentioned some few challenges they are grappling with in the road, water, and education sector. Chief of Staff Julius Zebra appealed to the people to vote massively for the party to enable it to retain power to continue with its good works. He later interacted with chiefs of the Dormo traditional area, where the paramount chief, Naso Omrinya Danagoro II, expressed concern over the slow pace of work at the community day secondary school.
We would like to thank the president for the day senior high school being put up. Others have completed their jobs, but ours is not yet completed. I hope when you were coming from whichever you stopped there, it is still to see its end, and I hope you will take it very seriously.
Julius Zebra assured the people that the development projects dotted around the area is only a tip of the iceberg, and given the opportunity, they will do more.
In my language, they say, the one who will give you the little he's got is the one who will give you more when he's got it. During his first term, to show his love to your people, that's why he's giving you the community day school and the water system as a gesture of his goodwill. I can guarantee and I can assure you that with this relationship, if you let him have his second term, he will be able to add more things to the little that he started. And by the way,
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Wochao.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now to the rest of our stories. And some ND members in the Ofinso North constituency of the Ashanti region said they fear documents required to transfer votes could disenfranchise many eligible voters. They say settler farmers in particular are unable to produce evidence like utility bills as is demanded by the Electoral Commission.
Persons seeking to transfer their votes are required to provide proof of residence in the constituencies they wish to vote. They must also provide utility bills, land titles, and tenancy agreements to prove their residential status. Youth for Mahama in the Ofinso North constituency, who say most of the people who want to apply for transfer of votes are farmers who are neither landowners nor enjoy utilities. Owusu Boateng is the group's research officer.
There is a letter that has come out that we have to make sure the person who is coming for the transfer is, of course, eligible voter, and we know that the person has to stay in this area for more than a year. We are aware of that. And he came in to say that the person has to come with a physical proof. That was when he told us. So we said that, of course, if he knew this, you should have told us this before the start of the exercise. So we also said then, if that is the case, then it is a means that is going to prevent our people from doing their transfer, because most of our people are in the rural settings where there are no lights, there are no water.
The group is asking for more flexibility from the Electoral Commission to allow such people to easily transfer their votes.
Flag bearer for the new patriotic party, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, today continued his tour of the Greater Accra region. He made stops in Domiabra, Obom, Amasaman, and Ajin Kotoku, much to the delight of teaming supporters. Latif Idris is our man who's been following the campaign trail with Nanado and tells us that the access to education was a big concern for traditional leaders. He joins me via phone with more. Good evening to you, Latif. Good evening to you, Latif.
Good evening, Baba.
It was, this is Aisha. It was the chief of Sabade in the Domiabra Obom constituency who mentioned the need for education, senior high school education in his constituency, right? What was the reaction of the NPP flag bearer to this concern?
Yeah, this is made a point that children in that community, after completing senior high school, have to go to the main capital, Accra, to access senior high education he then made the appeal to Nanado to make it a point that if he gets the number of Ghanaians to become president after December 7th, to make it a point to construct or establish one senior high school in the constituency. Now, the flag bearer didn't make a direct, point as far as the demand by the chief is concerned. He mentioned in general, that if he becomes the next president, he will make senior high education affordable for the less privileged in society to all access for the betterment of the nation as a whole.
So what has the NPP flag bearer been telling the people apart from answering to this education concern?
Yeah, Nanados, as we know, has some cards he's been playing since it started the 2015 campaign. That is one district, one party policy, which will be funded by the $1 million allocation he said he's going to make available to, make this possible. He also been mentioning the reinstatement of allowances for teacher and that is the second thing. Now, Nana is also running on what he described as incompetent mismanagement and corruption in the current administration. So these are some of the issues Nana has been hitting on from one constituency to the other, from one community to the other. Whoever he makes this point, that there is a need for Ghanaians to give him the nod to also become the next president. He's come first time in 2008, he couldn't make it. 2012, he couldn't make it. This is his third time of asking, and he's pleading with, these constituencies visited so far to give him a chance to also come and deliver and make Ghana a better place. Now, we're in a convoy. It's been a very, very hard day, just like yesterday. Today, the whole campaign started from Domiabra Abom constituency. From there, we moved to the Amasaman constituency, then to Ajen Kotoku. Now, as I speak with you, we're on our way to Nsakina. The day will be rounded up at Awoshi, where we're told a mammoth rally awaits the third-time presidential hopeful of the new Patriotic Party, Aisha.
Well, many thanks to Latif Idris for the update. We'll be waiting for the full report in our subsequent bulletin. Now, moving on to health, the Asunumanso Government Hospital in the Ashanti region are overwhelmed by the congestion at the facility. Overcrowding means that now adult men and women share a ward with children. Medical Superintendent Dr. Imran Mahama says the situation exposes patients to respiratory infections. This is a report by Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin.
The hospital signpost indicates there are 3 wards, each for male adult, female adult, and children. The opposite, however, is the case inside. Only 2 wards were made available for patients.
We have one Dr. Asamoah who lives in Switzerland, who came to realize our challenges. He reported here one Sunday to see us working. Through the chief of the town, he introduced us to this man. He realized that these challenges shouldn't be there, and he promised us that when he gets back, he will tell his big bosses so that they can be of help to us.
Dr. Imran Mahama says privacy of patients is at great risk. There are instances where patients contract infectious diseases. Though the health facility faces several challenges, some are gradually being addressed by stakeholders, including foreign partners.
Sometimes you have to pair them on the same bed, and sometimes you have to nurse some of the patients on benches. Because one of the most priorities is that we must ensure privacy. When you are pairing 2 people with different background, with different conditions, it becomes very difficult to do it.
Regional Director of Health, Dr. Alexis Nang Befuba, promises the Health Directorate will help keep the equipment secured. Reporting for Joy News, Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin.
Time now for business, and Emmanuel Abuajiria face here. Hi, Emmanuel.
Hi, Aisha. How
good
are you doing?
To see you. I'm doing well.
Yes.
But we're hearing some good news, and
yes.
What's going on with the Cocoa Board?
Exactly. Cocoa Board has finally closed a deal, where a $2 billion deal with 24 banks in Germany, which is good for the cocoa crop season this year.
At
1.47%.
That's incredible.
Very, very low.
Compared to how much percent by government?
Exactly. Well, you know, Ghana went onto the international market last week or so and secured $750 million at 9.25%.
That's extreme.
So an organization, just one organization, is going
like
for
Cocoa
$2 billion.
Board.
Exactly.
I think it's incredible. I think it's good news. Let's hear the news.
Thank you very much. Now, thanks for joining me on business. Ghana Cocoa Board has finally signed a $1.8 billion loan facility with some 24 banks in Frankfurt, Germany. The deal comes with an all-inclusive interest rate of 1.47%. George Rafe has filed this report on the trade facility.
The rate secured by Cocoa Board is far lower than the cost of borrowing on the international market by government in recent times, which was about 9.25%. However, some analysts say Cocoa Board's track record in the repayment of the loan facility since 1992 has been a major contributing factor for the favorable interest rate. Cocoa Board got more than $2 billion worth of bids from the banks, but agreed to take just $1.8 billion. Cocoa Board, however, maintains that it can still go ahead and raise another $200 million when crop performs better and requires further funds. The loan facility is expected to be paid back fully by August 2017. The deal was led by some 8 banks like Deutsche Bank, AG Nexus, Netbank of South Africa, Robobank, Standard Chartered Bank, Societe Generale, Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi, UFJ, DZ as co-arrangers. Cocoa Board is planning to use the funds to purchase cocoa beans for the next crop season, which runs from October this year to September 2017. The funds will also help improve infrastructure and cocoa growing communities like the Cocoa Roads, which is aimed at opening up the remote cocoa areas to aid the carting of cocoa beans to buying centers. Some analysts say the $1.8 billion loan should hit the Bank of Ghana's account possibly in the first week of October. This will go a long way to improve Bank of Ghana's international reserves, which will help stabilize the Ghana cedi.
And on Founders Day, we ask, how much do you really know about our first president? All right, so let's now look at the rest of our stories. And he is a global icon and still celebrated for his achievements and struggle to liberate Ghana from the colonialists. It is his birthday today. And even though he's dead, his achievements are still alive. On a special day like this, Joyce Maxwell Agbagba brings you the story about Dr. Nkrumah, his life, and how some young people still draw inspiration from him decades after his death.
He was born on September 21st, 1909. He was named the man of the millennium, beating competition from other great world leaders. The man we're talking about is Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We're here today at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park to have an interaction with the man who has talked and learned Kwame Nkrumah for the past 10 years. He's a tour guide here at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, and he's going to tell us more about this inspirational leader. They say that those who ignore history actually condemn themselves to not knowing the present. And it's important for a special day like this for us to know more about our history. Sad to say, though, a lot of us have forgotten about history books. So maybe, since you've been working here for like for a decade or so, you want to help us revisit our history books by telling us about Nkrumah's educational background, what he achieved politically, socially, basically everything about Nkrumah.
Well, Dr. Nkrumah was born in a town called Nkrofo, in the southwestern part of Ghana. had his early education around that area, that is Hafasini, but later moved to Accra, where he attended Achimota College, now Achimota School, where he was trained as a teacher.
He was an Accra, okay.
So finished and then taught for a while before he got a scholarship to study in the US at Lincoln University.
One of the core ideals of one of the core things that Kwame Nkrumah believed in was Pan-Africanism, and we know in the year 1945 what he did to make sure that the fifth Pan-African Congress came off. We know his contributions, and then we know his support also for us to have a United States of Africa. Muammar Gaddafi took over that that ideal and pushed it forcefully. Unfortunately, it didn't come to pass, and now he's gone. Tell us, did he make any conscious effort to see to the realization of that dream of having a United States of Africa? Some people say that even his marriage to Fatia Nkrumah was a deliberate attempt to unite the people of the African continent.
That was very true. His marriage to Fatia was basically an attempt at putting a particular agenda that they had. For not only Kwame Nkrumah, of course, he more or less spearheaded it. He was very prominent in that ideal of seeing Pan-Africanism, all African people uniting and becoming one and pushing our own agenda and having our stories told our way. Not on the other way around, and then uniting with our resources and making sure that we take care of ourselves, and then we can take care of other people here. So more of what he did in terms of Africa was to see to the fact that we are all united.
We do know that Nkrumah is a charismatic leader, very charismatic, loved by the people, and in fact we know all the songs of Nkrumah, hey, Nkrumah Showboy, Nkrumah Showboy, I want to see you come, Nkrumah Showboy. We know how the women then sang this song, to cheer him on, but the ordinary people feel, detached from Kwame Nkrumah. They felt very, close to him, because at a point we do know how some people were outraged, some people were angry about some of the decisions that he took. So tell us a bit about his charismatic part and some parts that people didn't like.
Of course, Nkrumah was a person who was very charismatic, as you mentioned. He could relate to everybody from the lowest to the highest level.
Yeah.
So he was able to endear himself to a lot of people, and people liked him for who he was. He was a straightforward person. But the thing too is that, just like we have in our normal politics all over the world, you wouldn't have everybody supporting you and believing what you believe in.
Yeah.
So that also brought some problem. At some point, attempts were made to have him assassinated. So eventually, the PDA
bomb attacks
was one of them. Several others.
Was one of the attempts that people?
Yes, it's one also happened at the Accra Sports
Stadium.
But so eventually the PDA was passed.
The Preventive Detention Act
was passed, and unfortunately some of his political dissident opponents got arrested, and a couple of them had to be imprisoned. And of course those things also brought that other side of him, and obviously there was a bit of tension from that side.
So this is the Kwame Nkrumah statue, but why is that it doesn't have a head? I'm curious,
Yeah. This is one of the statues that was made soon after independence. It was actually a complete statue, which used to be erected in front of our first parliament, or the old Parliament House.
Yeah.
But during the military coup that toppled his government, in the process, a lot of his things were vandalized, others stolen. So this particular statue was also attacked, and in the process, some of the parts fell off and got missing. In fact, the head was recovered only in 2009 during his centenary celebrations. But the one who actually had custody of it eventually donated it to the state.
Death laid its icy hands on Dr. Kwame Nkrumah on April 27, 1972. And as represented by the structure of this building, Kwame Nkrumah had an unfinished business. This structure you see over here represents a truncated tree telling the story about how Kwame Nkrumah's dreams and vision for Ghana was cut short by the coup and his death. This structure also speaks volumes about how, as Africans, we do rest under a tree after a hard day's work. It also tells a story about a reversed sword. When a sword is in its rightful position, it means war. But when it is in this state, it stands for peace. It's 9:30 p.m. right now at the University of Ghana School of Performing Arts. We are here to meet a young man who draws a lot of inspiration from Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. His name is Chief Movement. He's a poet and he's a writer as well. He has an upcoming project depicting the life of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, his achievements, and everything that you need to know about the man. We hear right now that there's a post-rehearsal meeting going on. So we have the cast in there. Chief Movement himself is also in there. And then a couple of other guys. Let's go in there and have a conversation with them.
Political contribution. So we should be able to do that. You understand? Because it's very important. This is a wonderful play.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Atu.
Okay, so this is Chief Movement. He's the writer and producer of the play. What are some of the useful things that we can watch and go like, okay, so I want to learn this. I want to learn that spirit of perseverance. I want to learn that, that tolerance, ability. What kind of thing do you think we can learn?
I mean, reading through the history, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was a man who had a vision. And not just a vision, but he also had the perseverance to pursue that vision. Even beyond winning independence, one of the great stories that probably we haven't told a lot in this country is the story of Akosombo Dam. Akosombo Dam is still the biggest producer of power in this country. It has sustained this nation for decades.
The gentleman playing the role of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is here with us. You can see him look so much like Nkrumah.
Toys of the brave may have raised us.
Ghana, we now have freedom. Ghana, land of freedom, everybody toils of the brave, and the sweats of their labors, toils of the brave, which have brought results.
That story was a very interesting one by Maxwell Agbagba, and I wish you a happy Founders Day. Now, law professor Patrick Lumumba is asking African leaders to sever ties with the World Bank and the IMF. Speaking on the second day of the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Lecture Series at the University of Cape Coast, the professor of public law insists that the solution to the continent's economic woes can be found within and not without. Richard Kujonyako has been attending the lecture series and has filed this report.
The Kenyan professor of law has not been the least happy with African leaders throughout his series. According to him, the African leaders, with the exception of one he singled out, are either engaged in one corrupt act or the other, or supervising them with impunity. Delivering a lecture on the economic reorientation in Africa, Professor Patrick Lumumba stated that Ghana and most of the African countries will continue to wallow in poverty, notwithstanding the abundant resources the continent is blessed with. This, he says, is as a result of the desire of many African leaders to mess up their economies and run to the IMF and the World Bank for solutions. Solutions, he says, are never available.
So in 1980s, we had the structural adjustment program. And it was not only in Ghana, it was in Kenya, it was everywhere. You had young graduates from American and European universities working in the IMF and Bretton Woods institution, experimenting the ideas in Africa. That is the tragedy of Africa, that young graduates and researchers who have ideas which they want to test will use Africans as laboratories and guinea pigs to test their economic ideas. And we Africans swallow it line, hook, and sinker. And that is why Africa has never realized our potential. If you remember, the Latin America was in a similar situation not long ago. But the Latin Americans took a solemn decision that they were going to liberate themselves from the chains of the IMF and the World Bank. And Chile did, and Argentina did, and Brazil did, and today they have lifted their country into middle-level economy. Many African countries are still tied at the hips with the International Monetary Fund, including your own Ghana. I can tell you that you will never get anywhere as long as the International Monetary Fund stands in your way. And I've always said that whenever you hear the IMF and the World Bank telling you that your economy is doing very well, you should be very worried.
The Kenyan law professor wondered why Ghana, that was blessed with a visionary leader in Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in the construction of the Akosombo Dam over half a century ago, should be a pale shadow of itself in the provision of energy to its people.
Ghana, for which Kwame Nkrumah had great expectation, generates no more than 3,000 megawatts for a slightly, perhaps over 20 million people. Ghana, which was the home of these ideas, has invented and exported a word to Africa, Dumso, Dumso. But Ghana is not alone in this regard. When one travels to Nigeria, that country with nearly 150 million inhabitants, with the largest number of PhD holders per capita in Africa. You go to Lagos in Nigeria, Abuja in Nigeria, Port Harcourt in Nigeria, the generators are alive and well.
Professor Patrick Lumumba also had a moment to spare on agriculture.
And it's not only the chicken that have to take that transatlantic journey. Even your fish must come all the way from China, as if we were told that fish no longer love living in the Volta River. Sometimes even bread comes from Europe. If you want your choice tomato and choice onions, sometimes they come from Europe. In other words, beyond the yam and beyond the plantain, we are importing everything. But yet African land is capable of feeding Africans. But our areas of intervention in agriculture, we still till our lands like they used to do in the days of Adam and Eve. We do not manipulate our land, we still use the hoe and depend on rain-fed agriculture, as if we had an unbreakable covenant with God that it will always rain on time. But I remember that the divine instruction was always very clear: go ye and subdue the world. Why have we allowed the world to subdue us? Why can't we have our land on irrigation? Today, if you ask any African who produces your seeds, it is Monsanto of the United States of America and is Syngenta. And I'm told Monsanto have now joined together with Bayer of Germany, and they are going to control. If you cannot control your food, you are dead on arrival.
Professor Patrick Lumumba will deliver the final series of the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Lectures later today and would be decorated by the university with honors. Richard Kwejonya-Akon, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Very interesting lecture by the law professor Patrick Lumumba, and that's food for thought anyway. Time now to break for entertainment, and we'll be back shortly. And time now for entertainment, and guess who's here? Miss G, and she's glowing. Hello, Miss G.
Amma.
Happy Founders Day.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Have you heard a lot of people complain that Ghanaians have too many holidays?
Yes.
But it looks like Ghanaians have forgotten that, you can spell Ghana by mentioning the alphabet G-H-A-N-A. But Ghanaians have forgotten that the H in Ghana means holidays. And so don't complain anytime you know that we have a holiday, because the H in Ghana stands for holidays.
H in Ghana stands for holiday.
Exactly.
You should also know that you enjoy your holidays with your pocket filled with money. So don't enjoy your holiday and come back and complain you don't have money.
No, I can't really be bothered. I enjoy my holidays on TV.
Okay. That's interesting.
Anyway, but we are rather starting on a sad note, and hip life musician Omar Hinipozo has been pronounced dead.
Oh my
Omar Hinipozo has been in and out of the hospital for months now, and it's sad that he had to die on a day like this, which is the Founders Day. Another thing that is good news is that anytime we remember Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, we get to remember Omar Hinipozo. He's done a lot of songs, especially for women, and spoken for the cause of women. Akolaki to Ashada Tade Awushe Wase, and then Omar Hinipozo had a lot of great tunes. He had songs with CK Man. He had great tunes back in the day.
He's quite a vibrant,
very vibrant, musician from back in the day. And
so
amazingly, just in August, 2 months away from today, I spoke to the man Sydney, who was part of the Nananum group, which was Omar Hinipozo's former group.
Right.
He was in that group with Omar Sydney and Joti, so the few of them made up the group Nananum. Keteke, Yeribo, Chill, that was the group we belonged to.
It was
a big deal back in the day,
I think we're all wondering why they split.
Exactly.
But sometimes these musicians, you just can't understand
very
their
true
way. Time for sports, and one of the men who loves sports is Gary Smith. He joins me in the studio. I hear some young Ghanaians have been making the country proud in the Milo Marathon.
Yes, they have, and we have details on that. But today's a holiday. Do I look overdressed?
You don't. Not at all. You're okay. You're cool.
Should I have worn a kaba and sleeve?
This is the same
African wear.
Gary that I know.
Right.
So cool.
Okay. All right. It's a holiday, but still we have to work.
So let's see what's coming up.
Right, thank you very much. And thank you for joining us. We hope you've had a good holiday. It's been normal work for us from morning, but it's all right. Yakubu Malik and Elizabeth Azuri. Now, these two have been working harder than I have, I tell you, in the Accra Milo Marathon. It started as early. They got there as early as 4 a.m. this morning at the start. And in the 2016 edition, they came up tops. Several thousands of people took part in the events, which saw them going through the principal streets of Accra, as reported by Asari Bediako.
Over 9,000 athletes from the 10 regions of Ghana competed in the 29th edition of the Accra Milo Marathon, which took place on Tuesday, September 21. The athletes took part in the 42.2-kilometer event as well as the 5-kilometer fun race. Yakubu Malik came first in the men's category. He ran a time of 2 hours, 22 minutes, 46 seconds. Mohamed Kasim was the runner-up. Joseph Nyandao secured the third spot. Defending champion Lagbele Raja finished fourth. In the women's category, Elizabeth Azuri came first. Saka Laribas finished second and Elizabeth Bosho placed third. Funmi Oseneye is Nestle Ghana's business manager for beverages, and she's already looking forward to next year's Accra Milo Marathon.
It's really going to be about the 3B. Bigger, bolder and better. We're having the 30th edition next year, so I can assure you that both in the fun run, which is the 5-kilometer and the 42-kilometer, it's really going to be bigger than this. So watch out for next year. It's going to be bigger and better than this year.
For nearly 3 decades, the Accra Milo Marathon has been organized every year.
that will be it for the interactive segment, and that will also be it for the bulletin. For more news, join us on myjoyonline.com for all you want to know about the election and all other news. And before that, let's look at a recap of our stories. MIDA denies reports that there's a presidential directive to halt all activities relating to the privatization of ECG. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. I did enjoy my 2-hour stay with you. Have a great evening.
This is Joy News Prime.